What up, guys, and welcome to Summer Lunch Break. Today, we sit down with founder and co-owner of Follow Wake, Steve Anderson. Steve tells us all about how Follow came to be, where it is today, and where it's headed in the future. He also teaches us a little bit about what life's like over in Australia. So grab your lunch, sit back and relax, because here he is, Steve Anderson.
You know what I'm really scared about is if the wakeboarders get too close to shore, they may use some people on the shore as bonking items.
Is it Steve or Steven?
Oh, what a trick. Uh-oh, I've lost my U. There you are. Sorry, I've got to stop multitasking. That's my biggest problem. I'm like a fish, right? So I get distracted really easily. And so I'm like, close the other screen, focus on solar. Well, in Australia, we shorten everything we can. So it's been funny, like my first time traveling, and like I've met a lot of great people over the world now. Over the last sort of 12 years, I've been doing the brand, and the first thing they say to me is they're like, slow down, you Aussies just are like, blah, blah, blah. And because we shorten every word and we swear, and it can be confusing sometimes. So sorry about that if it's going to happen. So
You're okay. All good. So,
but if you can't tell, I'm super nervous. Steve, whatever's going.
All good. We're all good.
I do. It's weird. I've got a nickname from back in the day, so it depends who you're talking to. So some people you go Steve from Follow, and they're like who, and then other people go Boombi, and they're like Boombi, and I'm like, yeah, well, when I was a kid, I was the fat kid, so they used to call me Fatty Boomba. So it sort of stuck around a little bit. So it's a tough one, but anyway, we'll move on. So some people be like, yeah, I don't know the Steve guy from Follow, and then other people be like, yeah, I know Boombi, and it's. So yeah, I'll roll with Steve though.
I will call you Steve.
I'm only Steve. Well, unless I'm in trouble, and then it's Steven. So we'll see.
That sounds like the name someone would use if you were in trouble.
My wife does a lot. She says she's got 4 kids, so anyway.
That's okay.
She's waiting for me to grow up.
Oh.
So yeah.
Oh well. I don't ever want to grow up, so.
Nah, that's for old people.
I normally ask people what they have for lunch. That's my biggest question of the day, but it's what time?
It's breakfast.
It's breakfast.
So we
time.
are literally in the office on time. It's 8:30 in the morning. So it's did the full Australian thing this morning, and got up and had a muesli bar, which you probably don't even know what that is, and I had like toast with Vegemite. So that is actually legit thing that we do. Okay. And I don't know if you've ever tried it, but most people find it horrible. So
I've heard of it. Is it like it's like a paste, right?
Yeah, it's like a Promite, but we always stitch everyone up, and like they load it up like it's Nutella, and it's just bleh. You've got to just have like a little bit. But like they fed it to us when we were babies, right? So it's like the whole Australian community is just used to it. But anyone from overseas is like, why would you eat this by choice? This is disgusting. So no, so it's early. I've had one coffee this morning, so I'll definitely need a second one at some stage, I think. So yeah, I'm getting through it.
I'm the same way. You got to start with the coffee right when you get up, and then generally after you're like ready, you're like, oh man, I'm tired all over again. I need another cup of coffee.
Thank God for drugs. That's all I say.
Oh gosh. I guess what else I want to ask you about is because I don't really know much about life in Australia. Is there anything like in particular that you would share with us that just are over here that maybe don't know?
I mean, we're all living in a strange place at the moment, and I think we've all had to adapt all of our lifestyles. And lucky for us, though, we are a big island, and we locked the borders pretty early. So, I mean, I'm pretty sure we've been close to 2 or 3 weeks with zero cases. So we've been very lucky that we're living life as normal. We did have really strict lockdown periods, but it was like, it was weird. But as a whole, Australians generally are striving for that beautiful cross between lifestyle and work, and the work is really just to pay for the lifestyle toys. And that's one thing I find similar with Americans. I've got a lot of good friends over there now over the years, and we surf in the morning, or we ride bikes, or we have motorbikes, and then it's just boats, and then it's jet skis, and it's just it's just toys. It's all about lifestyle and being outside. And I think that's where the active water sports thing, like the first time I met Dan and you guys, it's just like it was scary for me to be on the other side of the world with someone in the same situation me in life, and we're the same. Like I still snowboard and we still do all the same, and I'm like, we live the exactly same life with young kids. It's just like so far away. So I think that's probably the best thing, is that Aussies we have a sense of humor, and we can be very dry, like the sarcasm people don't get, and a few times, like through the brand, like I'll put something out there and people will just be like, whoa, that's a bit heavy. And I'm like, what do you mean? Like, and because we just, it's normal for us to have that sarcasm and that, that play a joke. And if you're picking on someone, it means you like them. And if what we say is, if you give the shit or the crap, then you've got to be ready to take it back. So yeah, I think that's probably the easiest way to explain Aussies. So, and they're never generally too shy for a beer. So,
Dude, I loved when you emailed us back and you were like, oh, I'm pretty intimidated. I almost was like, I'm about as scary as like a baby squirrel. So,
well, Dan did try to, he's like, she's super bubbly and funny and nice, and she'll make it relaxing. And I'm like, I don't care. I like the guy behind the camera, I don't want to be at the front, and it's like, especially, I found one thing over the last sort of 12 years, and that's the hardest part for me at the moment, is that I'm not enjoying like being at events and stuff as much as I used to. Because for me, it was always about, I loved all that, and it was just, I was the biggest wake fan there was. And, and some of my, things we'll talk about sometimes in the brand. And I still remember meeting people and just being like, oh, like, wake god sort of stuff. And now, unfortunately, it's like, it's work. And it's always, so I'm like happy to hide a little bit, if that makes sense.
Okay.
And then I've got a good group of crew around us now that that are helping me with the brand, and that bit's exciting too. And most of them are friends, so I've got guys like Ollie Jerome working for us, and Derek Cook's doing all the team management, and then a lot of our distributors like across the world, they're all like personal friends. And one of the things I was like, this is probably going to jump into a bit of depth of history and, where we came from, what we did. And I'm like, wow. And like, I actually grabbed all the like catalogs that I've started that are actually, they're actually,
cool.
I've got a photo, so I'll send you one with all the covers, but it's, it was interesting just flicking through, like going back to like season 2. And, the first year for us was like an Excel file, and like, I made, I think it was like 2 pro model handles and like 2 cheap, and the reason I started with ropes and handles was because I was working in a store. So I'd had almost 20 years in retail. So as soon as I was old enough to work in a shop, I was vacuuming to pay for equipment, and that's how I learned. And I've always loved how product works, and more importantly, why it breaks. So for me, it was always about, why are these things still breaking? Like, these are massive brands with product developers, and they're still making mistakes year after year that like I found as an outsider, I was just like, why? So the initial concept was that, and so it was about building like a rope and handle that me and my friends were proud of to use, and we liked the colors. But even little things like we've never changed, like our first pro models, they still went down to 50 feet, because like at those stage, like a lot of the kids, and then when my wife would ride, like I didn't want to tie a knot in my $200 Australian, which is like $6 US. I'm kidding. But I didn't want to tie a knot in my rope and wreck my rope. And so, because I've used the gear and I've always enjoyed how things work and analyzing it. And, and that's, I think, how we sort of progressed. But when we did that initial range, I always wanted to go into like the impact jacket and life jacket range, but it was like spare time. I literally was working full time in the shop, and I literally was building it on a laptop on my couch at night, and it was, it was stressful. And I had a lot of good friends and a lot of good people that helped. And I think if you've looked after, you've tried to be a good person over the years and look after people, they're always happy to help you back. So those early days, there was so many people that helped, and it's nice, and then to be sitting here back now 11 years later, and I'm working on season 12. Like, you guys haven't even got 10.5, but that's due, or you've got some. The rest
we've got a few things. We're still
So you've got your early stuff, but and then because that whole thing in itself was a nightmare with COVID last year, so we just wrote off 11. So we did the 10, and we were worried about sell through, and then it was like, what do we do? So we had it developed, and then we went back to like a half cast year, I call it, the 10.5. And then everyone's like, what are you going to do next? You're going to do 11? I'm like, nah, it's a write up. 21, we just move on. We're going to 12. So I mean, I'm at the finished stages of that, where, I mean, I've got samples turning up any day, and the minute I still open those packages, like, it still excites me. It's like every vest and every bit of product, it's like the concept in the head, through to then opening a final product, and then, reviewing it. And I'm always, the biggest thing is it's never finished for me. And that's my biggest fear running the brand. I think that if I get to a stage where I think everything's perfect, I know that'll be when we start going backwards, and it's, there's always something to improve on. So I don't know. I'm still engaged and still love it. And I still get, it's like better for Christmas. It's better than Christmas for me when I open the sample boxes. I just go, ooh,
I get the same way. Like, when they're delivered here, I get super excited. I'm like, I can't wait to look at everything. It's so awesome. I want to insert into our video right now, for the people that don't know the Follow brand for 2021, I have the team promo video. So we're going to play that right now. It's a broad question, but I am going to ask you, what was the inspiration behind, like, in a more specific sense? Was there a day that you were kind of like, I'm going to do this because of this reason?
100%. I still remember it vividly, and it was literally the day. I mean, I'd been managing a quite a large store for nearly 10 years, and it was actually really the birth of my daughter. And it was the concept of, hang on a sec, like, I cannot give her the lifestyle that I want to, or live, working in a progressional, like, in the job I was at, I couldn't progress past where I was. I'd sort of got to where I got to, and I was going through daily life with it, but then adding her, Indy, into the world was like, oh crap. And I was still quite young. I mean, we were lucky, we'd bought our house and we'd renovated and all that sort of stuff. But that was the real driving force. And I wanted to be the guy that was at 35 and said, hey, I had a go and it didn't fail, than be the guy at 35 saying, I had that idea and never did it. Yeah. So I'm touching closer to 40, and I can say that I had a go and we did it. But a lot of grey hairs, a lot of stress in between all that. And, and that's actually, one of the questions you'll probably lead to was, when was the lowest point? And it actually involved her as well. And I reckon it was season 2 for us, maybe in between season 2 and 3. And the one thing that people, don't get is when you start a brand, it's one thing having the concept of it, but the money you put into it before you've sold a product is huge. And then, to then back it up and then write the sales and then get the money in and deliver it. And then all of a sudden shops owe you money. And then eventually, you get paid and you're like, okay. And at the end of the year, you're like, cool, I lost $50,000 this year. That was fun. Let's do this again, and then you go bang and you do it again. And then you're like, oh, wow, we doubled. How awesome's doubling? And then you're like, oh God, when am I going to get more money? And, and that was like another really, I'll get to, but that was a big turning point too, because as we kept growing, it just kept involving more money. And it got to a stage where it was like, I was, going, okay, do we go, do we don't? And I actually got offered a really good job. Now, I won't say who for and what, but it was like my dream job and a good pay rise. But the there was a car and a phone and everything I needed to just live a simple life. And my wife was like, but the what he said, what the deal was that I couldn't do follow. So if I worked, I was told, because it was effectively still in the industry, that it was a way to do it. And my wife looked at that and said, she's like, Steve, if that happened and he's trying to stop you from doing it, it's because you're doing something right. And we sold the house. So we went all in and threw down again. And that sort of created, and then we just, kept ticking along. Yeah. And then basically it got to the stage though, where we were completely broke. Didn't have a cent to our name. We were a month behind in rent. I was about to have my car repossessed and I was working 2 jobs. I was working for Malibu at the time, doing boat demos as well as running the shop and running follow. And I still remember she called me up and she was crying on the phone, Amica, and she goes, oh, we need nappies. And I go, oh, I'll stop some on the way home. She goes, you can't. I don't get paid. We don't get paid till Tuesday. And I was like, oh, and that was a turning point, I think, where most people would have given up. And I actually called a friend and he had a daughter the same age. And I said, can I borrow some nappies? He's like, what? And so I drove over to his place. He goes, yeah, come over. He gave me $50 cash, gave me a box of nappies. And he's like, don't worry about it, mate. We'll sort it out later. And I kept my head down and kept digging. And I'm lucky that I joined a group up here, JPI, and Darren Addard. He's been in the industry. He worked for Jetpilot in the US for a long time. And so I partnered up with him and he gave me the infrastructure to, start again and not have the stresses of cash flow side of it. And, but that was like 8 years ago. So we joined up and then that took away the personal, financial stresses. And it gave me, the wage to be able to just focus on it full time. And then now to look back on that and go, whoa, look what we've done. It's pretty cool. So follows now, everywhere in the world, at every cable park and every, there's a long way to go, but it's crazy. Like I turned up to Lithuania in Europe and it's a country I'd never heard of, to like 313 cable park. And I walked in there and I'm like, this is the most amazing place I've ever seen. And I'm standing on the dock with my board, like ready to ride. And there's just follow jackets. And I'm going like, wow, this is cool, and then the same thing at Terminus, I was over there with Chase and caught up with him and I'm standing there at the dock and I'm like, there's follow life jacket and I've never been there. And these are places I'd wanted to go to my whole life. And, and it's just cool to see it. And it's nice to see that people appreciate the brand, and like if we go back to product a little bit, it's, for me, the pretty side of it and the colors, I find that actually the easy bit. My goal is to build the best product in the world and it's black. I work on it without even the concept of colors and the fits and, the materials and so much like goes into that, and then I think that if I make the best black product in the world, the rest is easy,
so
for
sure.
That's how I approach it. and product is key, and I got an interesting statistic the other day, which I don't know if it's boasting or not, and then I don't want to like totally destroy it this year, but I mean, through the whole world last year, we ran our report on our warranties, and it was a 0.0007.
Wow.
And I'm like, whoa, that's pretty cool. So I think it was
That's
48.
amazing.
It was 48 warranties through the entire world for like last year, and I
Oh
was
my
like,
gosh, congratulations. That's amazing.
yeah, well, I know that's cool, but that was part of the initial concept of the brand.
Yeah.
And then I hadn't looked at it for years. I've always had the thing that if someone has a problem with that product, then take it back to your pro store, like contact them. They'll support you with it, and we support it too, like we will make mistakes. I'm sure we will, like
Yeah.
it happens, right?
Totally,
But
that's
I
life.
think it's how you deal with it. But hopefully we've tested it, and the team and everyone's used it before it gets to you guys. So and that comes down to we pick the best manufacturers we can too. So there's always cheaper factories and cheaper options, but I always get in trouble because like when the accountants or the bean counters, I call them, they're like, your stuff works, and I'm like, yeah, but don't worry about it. Like, look at our returns, look at our sell through, like, don't worry. And then they're like, oh, we worry but it's I don't know. I still feel that we've stayed really strong to that concept, and it's still working. So
yeah. Looking back,
stay with
like
it.
when that first idea popped into your head and kind of what you were planning up until now, do you think it's kind of followed that path that you initially thought, or has there been things along the way that have influenced new directions for the brand?
I still think the fundamentals, it's always been the same concept, and we've evolved, for sure. And I mean, as we get bigger and more territories, there's more complexities. And for me, I've always found the marketing and design stuff easy. It was actually learning how to run a business from the back end.
Totally.
And that was something that it was really good moving up here with Darren, was that he gave me, and taught me the tools on, to understand it past just wanting to spend $100,000 on a photo shoot to make pretty photos. He's like, that's great, Steve, but it doesn't make sense when you're not selling that much, So it's like, it's been nice to learn that side of it, and they're skills that, I've been able to use into other parts of the business and company and what we do. And yeah, it's cool. But no, it's still the same. It was still about friends, and it was still about family, and our earliest things, like you were mentioning the Twiggy handle, the water skiing squirrel, and
yeah.
so that jacket that you've got in the back there, that's a 10-year limited. So what we did the black one for production, which I think you can see behind me.
Yeah,
and I've got one of the limited ones myself. But that sublimation had like covers and just like parts of like we'd had in the brand on things over the sort of the last 10 years. And we put that collage together. And Twiggy was, we did a family handle back when we first started, and we did that, and we did like a Mario brother with turtles, and we did what else? God, I've got them somewhere. I should have dug them all up, but actually no, anyway, but we did them, and they were hilarious. And one of the questions I saw in your thing that you'll probably get to was like, when would you meet someone famous? And the first time I went to America, and I was in Orlando for Surf Expo, we were at ODub, and I was with Brenton Priestley and Chrisso, I think, the two, and Biley was there, and I was just like, oh, Scott Biley. And I couldn't even talk, right? I was just like, felt like a little school kid. I went like bright red going, and then he was looking at the handles. He's like, no, man, I love what you're doing and digging it. And I'm just like, oh my God. And I couldn't even talk. I was so embarrassed. Like I walked away going, oh God, that was my chance to try and talk to Violet. And luckily years afterwards, like I've run into him many times since, and we've had good conversations. But, to have childhood heroes like that for myself. And, another point was, I remember the first time, like I got an email from Randall, and like he was just And he's just like, hey man, dig what you're doing. Can you send me some gear? And I'm like, oh yes. And he's riding again, you know, so it was really cool. So Derek still reached out with him, and you know, Derek got him a bunch of new gear to ride in, and I'm just like, whatever he wants. So it's cool. I mean, those things are sort of points that really sort of stuck out for me. But the biggest thing that I found hard at the moment is that the original team and, you know, friends that I've built the brand with, they're at a stage where we're transitioning now. So we're looking, you know, for new kids, and we've got new riders coming through, you know, that, you know, we see potential in, you know, and that's important, you know, like, you know, we've got like Pedro, you know, he's like one of the cable kids, he's just shredding, and Joey Battle Day, and then we've got the Stucky boys, like, you know, and then Sam Brown, you know, so he's an Aussie guy, and the boat rider, and it's important for us that we help this next generation. But I'm really worried for them because it's not like the good old days of wakeboarding where everyone was making heaps of money, you know, and so these guys are struggling to get around. They're barely living, and from a brand's perspective, it's really hard to go, hey, we only sell the life jackets, man. We can only pay you sort of this much. But I just, you know, if we lose out of industry sponsors, it's scary, I think, where the sport will go, you know. And we need to make sure that we keep these events and we keep these things going, and because we need that next generation for people to look for, you know, up to.
Yeah, for
so
sure.
Oh, I didn't forget girls. Sorry, Anna is amazing. We love Anna, and and Cassidy too. She's you know, she's always repping our stuff strong, which is cool.
Awesome.
So,
Good.
Working. I've got a colorway for her next year. It's really nice. You'll like it.
That's exciting.
Yeah. There's some cool stuff. I'm excited, and yeah, you guys haven't even got 10.5, and it's like, it's so hard for me because I've already done 12, and it's like, oh my god, I'm so excited. I just want to show everyone, and I can't, because it's like, oh no, stay focused on what's coming.
Gotta hide it
so
for a while.
Like, we work, because I work nearly a year and a half to 2 years ahead, so it's
oh yeah, okay.
Yeah, timelines.
Dang, that's crazy. I wouldn't be able to like keep it like on the down low. I'd be like, look at all that. I wouldn't be able to.
The inner circle, don't worry. I show the inner circle, and the more feedback we get, the better. But yeah, no, it's all good. I don't know what else. I'm just rambling crap.
No, you're doing awesome. This is so great. I was gonna ask you about you know, kind of as you're planning to get into this industry with this brand, was it kind of intimidating, or how did you feel about these other big name brands like Ronix, Liquid Force? Like, how did that feel?
It was super daunting, and and everyone told me from the first year that I was crazy and I wouldn't make it. I'm going to blow my money, you know. And I think it was like 4 years in, and I was still in a bad place, and they're still going, we told you. And I'm like, nah. And I just kept my head down and kept digging, you know. And I just, there was enough people loving what we did, and you know, and then people, I found it was really cool that when we started making vests, that was at the stage where I think everyone was starting to put they were wearing t-shirts over them. And I look back at even myself when I was working in the shop, and when I go shopping, I'd go through a vest wall and be like, these are crap. Like, I'm like, is there any just black ones? And then I'd be like, oh, that's the blackest. And I'd be like, oh, but it's got all this stuff on it. And then I'd just wear a t-shirt. And and what, for me, it was really cool when I started seeing everyone in follow jackets with their jackets over the top. And then the kids that didn't have follow jackets would wear their t-shirts, and then I'd turn up everywhere, and it was starting to be the same. And I was like, oh, cool. So people do like what we do. And so we just, I just kept my head down and kept digging. And then in the early days, we had a lot of people, you know, making moves to, you know, sabotage what we were doing, and you know, but then we also had just as many people as fans and helping and giving us, go guys, you know, this is what we need. The sport needs new brands. It needs new blood. And so there was, as much as there was some people trying to, you know, shut us down or, you know, cut us, there was more people supporting us. And we sort of came through. But I've always been careful to keep follow, you know, and I think
Mm-hmm.
making sure that I've been careful with who's making our product so we can't be, you know, kicked in from the other end. And
Mm-hmm.
but the logistical side of things is just getting crazy at the moment, just the way the world's changed and
Mm-hmm.
everything and the way it's moving around. And I mean, we moved factories a few years ago out of China, so like our stuff's coming from Cambodia, and that was another problem in
Yeah.
itself. But we just sort of, you know, I'm a doomsday prepper in some ways. I'm always prepping and believing in the worst out
Totally.
of everyone and
Yeah.
everything. And so I've always got like 10 plans. Then there's always A, B, C, D, and it usually gets to F for fuck.
That's
So yeah, so once we get to the F plan, where it's usually, you know, we're getting there closer. So anyway.
That's awesome. I was gonna mention, as you're saying, like kind of keep making Follow its own brand. And when I was getting more into the water sports industry kind of on my own, and I became a team rider for Active, and they sent me a Follow vest. And I was like, I've never heard of this before, but I was so hyped that one, like they wanted to like have me as like a team rider. And then later on I started working here, but I still have the vest and it's still my favorite. It's that
It still works?
oh yeah, it's perfect. It's perfect.
Nice.
No warranty.
I was like, oh no, yeah. I was like, oh, she's like, oh yeah, and all the top's peeling off and all the colours, and I'm going, ooh, maybe we'll send you a new one, Summer. What do you reckon? It works out there.
No, yeah, it's that like light lime green color. I don't know
Oh,
what
the
season
mint,
that's
the
from.
SBR.
The mint.
Yeah,
Yes.
it'll be season 7. So that was like our first play into pastels, you know. And one thing we've always done is, it sounds really dumb now coming from a guy, but I put a lot of time into women's like colorways and fits and patterns and researching things that I don't even look at what other brands are doing in our industry. I mean, people go, oh, have you seen such and such? They're copying and doing this. And I go, no. And they're like, well, shouldn't you know what your competitors are doing? I'm like, I'm too busy worrying about what I'm doing. I don't have time, you know, but I'm always looking outside industry. And, you know, we've always pushed, I think, that fashion side of the sport a little bit. You know, we've always tried to be a bit grungier, a bit edgier, and, you know, and that comes down to a lot of the materials we use, you know, and, you know, the blocking and badging. And, you know, I try to just think of every bit, you know, and I have what we call like lost leaders in some sense, where we're just like, it's so cool. I don't care if we don't sell many, we're making it, you know. Like this year we did the 10.5. It's probably a good segment to throw an ad in. We did the silver TBA, and it's like reflective and stuff. And that's Alex Elbach, who's one of my best friends. He's a German that moved into my house for like 4 months with COVID because he couldn't magically go home. So he decided to just stay surfing in Australia and wakeboarding rather than being locked up in Germany. But yeah, it was really cool. He was just adamant at me, and I'm like, silver, man, really? And he's like, no. And I think that's part of it, is I've got to listen to what people are wanting and what these younger guys. I'm the old guy now. It's like, when did that happen? You know, it's like I don't feel it, but I am. And you just got to listen, you know, and watch what kids and what fashion's happening here and there. And you know, and this year you'll see there's some nice colors coming through all the girl stuff, and the guys have got like those brights, but there's a lot of cool black stuff. And I put a lot of focus in the 10.5 into having like even some of the black products, like you'll walk up to and you'll go and touch them and you'll be like, whoa, it's got 3 different types of neoprene, and there's all the textures and feeling. And, you know, for me, that's quite, you know, that's, you know, touch and feel of a product is quality. And, you know, to have a jacket that you've had effectively for 3, nearly 4 seasons, probably still perfect, you know. Maybe I need to design it to fall apart a little so you buy more, but but like, you know, Raf's jacket this year was one of the it was really cool working with Raf and building Raf's jacket. And he's got such a clear vision of what he wants, and it's nice to build something and then be like, I've got it, Raf, and then send it to him and he's like, it's okay. Like, damn it. Are you going to be any more like emotional about that, Raf? He's like, it's good. I'm like, damn it, ref.
You're like, so
and
I'm don't like it.
no, he loves it, but it's just, you can't tell. He's just like blank face. Just, so,
Very, very,
yeah.
I think it's stoic is the word.
Where Ollie's the
Very.
polar opposite. Yeah, Ollie's just like and just talks like a million miles an hour. And I think Ollie's done a lot of talking, so it's probably taken a bit of time so Raph gets a break. I don't know.
That's awesome.
I don't know. Did you have any other crazy questions for a weird Australian sitting there dreaming of coffee?
I have some questions about just the team in general. We kind of want to touch on that. Basically kind of what it's like finding team riders, losing team riders, just insight on that would be awesome.
It's we've always tried to keep it pretty tight with Follow, and one of the hardest things that I had to start segmenting myself away, and that's why I've got Derek Cook helping me, is that I've got personal relationships with these people, like they're friends. And then when you have to start making business decisions, like, dude, I can't pay you to do nothing. It gets really tough because, you remember that these guys are the people that help you build your company too, but it gets to a stage where I've got to start transitioning into this next generation, and I always say to a team rider, someone, like, I get approached a lot and we get a lot of emails and stuff, and I'm always like, keep shredding, we'll keep an eye on you, content is key now. I think, as the world's changing, it's all about content creation, and wakeboarding's going past just being the guy doing the best tricks. It's also going, well, how do I showcase myself in the social media world or the media documents? And one of my pet hates is just bloody iPhone videos from the back of the boat. It's like, guys, look into history. Like videos used to take years to make. Like, it was like they would shoot and film and concept like one trick on one angle that was like into their section gone, and there are still people doing that work. And I think for kids coming through, working on your digital skills and, filming your mates, what you're riding with, and, you film them, they film you. And that's the future, like, we all work, like, everyone has a job and that's how they get paid. So I'd love to just cruise around the world and go wakeboarding too, but obviously my skills aren't good enough. But more importantly, it's going to come down, the next generation, it's going to come down to content creation. So those kids that are feeding content to their sponsors, they'll be the ones that, progress,
Perfect. Yeah. That was what
Does that make sense?
Question. Totally. That was something I was going to ask you is, like, advice to somebody trying to maybe get sponsored, what are the steps that you can take that will set you apart from someone else? It sounds like that content is just so important.
I mean, for us, yeah, it is. It's crucial. And I say, the boys, but the team effectively is, they're in the know and they're out, and there's someone, and they'll go, hey, watch this person, watch this kid. And then I start following them, and, you see what they're doing and what they're posting, and you're like, oh yeah, I like this. And, they're really corny, like ad stuff, it's just like, oh my God, no. Like, why are we watching this? It's not an infomercial. But so there's that nice compromise between tasteful marketing and, in your face. And I don't know if anyone's got it right. And it changes daily, so it's, who knows what tomorrow will bring. So
yeah. Do you have
I'm hoping.
Do you have anyone in particular that you have your eye on that you're allowed to say?
Not really.
No pressure.
No, I mean, there's a lot of people that that I have so much respect for, and some of the older not older athletes, but the more established athletes, is probably the wording I would use for.
Yeah.
And and as I was going back to earlier, is that when some of the out of industry brands start pulling out and these people start losing their incomes, that's what scares me. Like, I believe they deserve to be able to what they've done over the 20 years of sports, but that side of it's hard, especially when they're at the stage of life with kids and they need to start transitioning into work. And
totally.
And yeah, it's always tough. Not everyone can do that though either. So it's, you know,
Yeah,
it's a
for
catch
sure.
22. Yeah, but yeah, no, there's not one person. I mean, you know, I could have you know, 3 years ago, I would have said, you know, I would have said Raf for sure, you
Yeah.
know, but um, Raf's been working with us for a couple of years, and hopefully he's happy. I have no idea. He never talks. But I'm kidding, Raf. I'm kidding, Raf. Your brother talks for you. No, but there's still people. You know, there's always kid. You know, but no, there's no one directly. So.
And what was it like bringing some of those, you know, the guys that have been with you? Anyone in particular that kind of has how you got them to be a part of your brand, like specific stories on that?
Oh, not really. It's more, so, you know, some of them you pick up like that, you know, becomes your family. You can't pick your family. You just get
Yeah,
stuck with them,
it
right?
just happens.
And but I was really lucky, you know, and I'd really, if I was going to say, I'd really like to do a shout out to Chrisso, you know, because he was there from the initial start of the company. And you know, we had a falling out, you know, and I still, you know, we've made up, like we're talking, and it's but you know, he did a lot for me, you know, him and Brenton Priestley and Mitch Langfield, you know, they were my boys, you know, and Mitchy's got his own 2.0 cable park up here at the Black Spot. You know, it's an hour and a half from work, and he's still building the most crazy rails, and he's probably one of the most underestimated riders in the world, I believe. And you know, Brenton's, you know, unfortunately, you know, he's working full time just to keep food in his head, and he's still riding and he's still pushing. And you know, it's nice to have those people. And we've lost good friends along the way that they've gone on to bigger and better opportunities. And I always had sort of a verbal agreement with everyone that if they had a contract with us, and they coffee truck, I'll miss out. Hopefully someone brings me one. That'd be the best. But you know, we've lost
grab
some.
one too. You're good.
No, it's so good. We've lost some people along the way too, who, you know, I really saw long-term potential with us and growing with, but I'm also so happy with them when someone steps up and they're like, Steve, I got offered this contract, and I'm like, high five, but I'm really sad, but high five, you know, because I'm happy for them, you know. So it's take the money while you can. At the end of the day, we're still an Australian brand trying to sell life jackets, and we're not this like massive multi-million-dollar company like some of our competitors, you know. So it's we're still kicking water, but you know, we're heading the right direction.
Love it. Seriously, if you want to get your coffee, you go get your coffee.
Someone will bring it to me. That's the best.
Okay, that's cool. You said coffee truck? Is there a truck that
comes? So Australians, like, don't take this the wrong way, but like American coffee sucks. Like,
I don't like coffee, so that's what
it's the worst. When I travel to the States, I'm just like, Starbucks is the only option, which I'm probably not allowed to say, who knows, but and it's not that crash hot. But so in Australia, like, I think coffee's a big part of our life, and they have these like, I don't know, like food trucks. They're like little vans, and they drive around. They have all the profit coffee, so they turn up at different times, and they've got all the snacks and burritos for breakfast and chips and stuff. And then they make coffee out of that. So they just turn up at your work, and you're just like, coffee, and everyone walks out and takes a little bit of a break, has a few laughs.
Sick.
It is
I've
cool.
never heard of that ever.
Well, there you go. There's a new business idea for you.
Perfect.
There you go.
We
can start that in your spare time. You can work at AWS full time and then do it in the mornings before work. So you can start doing 80-hour weeks. It's super good. You should get into it.
I cannot wait. Sounds so relaxing. I would literally
and all your savings and all your savings and everything you put into it, and then it's failing miserably. But keep going. You might get through it.
Stop. So. It might turn out really good.
Exactly.
So funny.
Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna switch gears a little bit. Yeah, a few more. I'm almost done, I promise. Just shifting gears into, because I was told that you're a water sports distributor for some big brands, also running Follow. We just want some insight on that.
So I'm really, I think lucky is the word I would use, but basically through building the network and through my travels overseas, I've met some cool people that and have had business opportunities. So we're lucky enough to do Hyperlight and HO. And last year we also picked up Liquid Force and O'Brien. So it's busy. So but I've got some amazing people now working with me, and you might know Dean Smith. So he's working. Yeah. So he's
that sounds very familiar.
Yeah. So he's again, one of my favorite riders as well. He's right up there, though. He's come to the other side, and he's doing HO Hyperlight for me here. And then I've got another couple of guys looking after Liquid Force and O'Brien. And it's sort of weird for me because I'm a real micromanager and I'm super unorganized. And I've been lucky enough that I've got some really good people helping me as we grow, to be better, Steve. And so it's fun, but it's stressful. It's super stressful. And I like to say that Australia is probably the testing ground because we get the stuff first. So we see all of the hardware brands, new ranges like real soon. Like I've seen a lot of it. And so that's exciting because, I still love product. I'm a product geek, I still really enjoy it.
Yeah.
But then we get our deliveries like real early for our summer. So if there's any problems, we're dealing with it. And then it's fixed before it gets to America. So it's perfect for you guys. But no, it's good. And those guys, it's challenging hardware, but it's fun. And I'm really enjoying the new categories. And like, I was probably the most anti-foiler ever known to mankind. Like I was just so anti it.
Absolutely not.
And then I tried it and I was like, oh God, it's really fun.
Mm-hmm.
And I can use my boat a lot more and it doesn't hurt. And, and I come from snowboarding, so it was cool for me, it was like a similar sensation of powder snowboarding a little bit. And, it was nice to have these new categories these brands are working with to, bring some life and a new generation to the sport. And we're lucky in Australia that we still have like wakeboarding associations. So some of the states are still pushing events for kids, and, the cable parks down the road, they're always doing their kids club, and it's just making sure we've got that next one coming through, So, and COVID, as much as, it's got a lot of negatives, the positives are everyone's staying home and everyone's doing sports. Yeah. So that's good. I mean, it's in Australia, I heard interesting statistic that we spend 50 billion a year traveling as a country, which is quite high for our population, but we only return 20 billion back. So, our economy's been really heavily stimulated because we're not thinking about our overseas trips. We're sort of focusing on Australia. So it's been nice. So like a lot of the shops saw what happened in the US, it's sold out, as everyone was low on gear, and, it's just a matter of what you could get, not what you wanted.
Totally.
And, but it's been nice. It's sort of revived the whole industry, and there's a lot of positivity back, and, boat sales are great, and that development side of it's really good, and it's exciting. I'm really stoked. I think we all needed it. It's the first time in the 12 years I've been running the industry that everyone's happy. Normally I go around the world and there's doom and glooms, and there's we had a bad year, and everyone's just like, everyone's good, and I'm like, good. Let's just hope it stays that way. So.
Yeah. There's been great, like with just the boating industry in general this year, just the vibes have been crazy. Like it's been good for us.
I made the biggest mistake. Like I put my boat up for sale like in the end of summer last year, and I was like, and then sat there forever, and I just had the number. I was like, whoever offered me the number, would have sold it. And then I sold it, and then if I had held it 2 weeks, I would have got like 20 grand more for it, because now there's no boats. You cannot buy a boat if you want to. And I was like, no. So I lost heaps of money. And then I wanted to buy a new boat, and I couldn't get a new boat. So it's like,
exactly. It's so crazy right now. It's so crazy right now.
That's awesome decision of which one do I want.
Yeah, so, that's always fun.
Good problem.
I was also going to ask about just like what it's like shipping overseas and stuff, because I know a lot of people who are probably going to watch this maybe don't have the best understanding of how that works. So if you have,
we need everyone to be please be kind to all the stores and distributors this year and brands. We've all been working so hard to get product back into store, but there's material shortages just across the world, and it's not isolated just to one brand or one segment. There's just, we couldn't get zippers, we can't, and then we have our stuff ready and there's no empty containers. They're all sitting in the US and Europe and Australia because there's so much moving. They're not shipping empty ones back. So there's delays. It's just, it's a nightmare. It's a nightmare. And so it's put a lot of curveballs out there for a lot of people. And we just need everyone to be like, please, we get it. All right. It's coming. It's coming. Everyone's doing everything they can. And that's what scares me the most over the next few months, is just, we've got all the dates and all the ducks are in a line, but we still may end up with Plan F. So let's
back to Plan F.
We'll see. No, everything seems we're getting there, but it's just tricky, and everything's moving and timelines are blowing out, and there's just a shortage of everything, and costing is just, it's more than tripled in. So my advice would be, buy up this year, guys, because everything's going to go up next year. So shipping prices are like 4 times what they normally are. So that's going to affect everyone and everything. So
totally.
Anyway, don't want to be a doomsday prepper, but I'm sounding like it again. But
it's
get
okay
your 10.5.
to be prepared.
Get to AWS now. Get what they've
10.5.
got.
I was going to say, make sure to check out, for all the people watching that's looking to get that 10.5, better check out activewake.com, because they got everything on there. Be sweet. Real sweet. Other than that, I just want to ask if you have any shout outs you want to make before we conclude our discussion.
I think I've done enough bloody name dropping. I'd like to thank Dan for introducing me to you. That was fantastic. I was also terrified, so I've lost sleep over this for 2 weeks. So thanks for that, Dan.
He's gonna love that.
No, it's all good. It's happy, and and if anyone does have a problem with our product, please don't be afraid to ask or talk to someone about it. That's how we learn, and don't feel like you're whinging. That's how we learn, and that's how we progress. So support your pro dealers, look after the industry. Let's get that next generation through. Hopefully we're having a chat in a few years. Maybe my office will be bigger then. I don't know, but probably not. I doubt it. It'll be the same, exactly the same. Oh, I've got a Flight 69 though. Took me like 10 years to get one. That's the first
so
twin kit.
dope.
Took me forever.
That's so
but I
sick.
finally, there's not many of them in Australia, that's for sure. So.
Yeah,
All
hold
right.
on to that thing. Okay.
Well, peace out. You better get back to the shop, and I'm
Gotta
going to
go
go
to the
hit that
shop.
coffee truck.
Yeah,
I'm
go
gonna hit
get
the
your coffee truck.
And
I'm gonna go start working on my plan for mine.
Oh shit! I better say thanks to my wife for believing in me. Amika, you're a rock star. And my kids, they're okay, but no, they're fine. They're good. Like, I reckon everyone should have 3 kids. It's so awesome.
I can see the lies. The lies.
No, it's good. It's good. It keeps me busy though. So it's without those guys, follow wouldn't have happened, and without her support, same thing. We wouldn't have got to where we got to now. So that I better. Oh, imagine I forgot that. I would have been killed. I would have been killed.
So mad when this aired.
No, she won't even. Oh, she probably won't even know, and she'll be like, "Oh, it's wakeboarding. I'm not watching it." Not true. Maybe true.
Hopefully, she watches it.
See. All right. Well, thanks for your time again.
Yeah. Thank you for your time. This was so awesome. I think it's really cool that we can let kind of our customers and customers all around kind of get a new understanding of, where this brand came from, what it's been through, and where it's going. So thank you very much.
Well, we got a long way to go,
yes.
And it's just exciting, like, as you said, you didn't know the brand. And so hopefully a few more people come out of this, and next time they're in store, they have a look at it and they see the detail and love we put into what we do. And, hopefully they follow customers for life. So
That would be
that's the plan.
perfect. There we go.
Cool.
Amazing.
Thanks, Summer. I'm
Well,
gonna
thank
peace
you,
out on my.
Steve.
That's my salesman bullshit. There you go. Boom.